What's up YouTube, it's your boy Grassy TV back with another Hero Siege video. Season 5 begins on December 13th and has been fully loaded with over 200 new sub-skill trees across all classes, as well as new items and runes, a Hero Siege style mapping system, a rebirth of glyphs, angelic augments, better Chaos Tower scaling, much needed performance improvements across the game, and so freaking much more. I am super excited to explore the new season and very humbled to be making content on this awesome game. Today I present to you my Frost Jotunn starter build guide for Season 5. The Frost Jotunn is an icy elemental that specializes in frost-based spells, slowing enemies and dealing significant cold damage. His signature ability includes summoning frost orbs that orbit and strike enemies. With its decent durability, large AoE, and freezing capabilities, this class is a widely popular force to be reckoned with. This build offers a smooth leveling process for both beginner and advanced players. In this guide, you will find information on build functionality, a step-by-step leveling guide, a full gearing section, and much more. Let's get started. First, we'll start off with some pros and cons of the Frost Jotunn. Because we're using cold damage, we have a lot of crowd control. We can freeze and chill enemies. Jotunn also has a built-in teleport and very large AoE for its main damage. We get an all-res passive and physical damage reduction buff. And for me personally, I love Frozen Orb in Diablo 2 and this resembles that a lot. And I actually started playing Hero Siege in the middle of the winter time. I remember I was snowed in and I was playing in the Glacial Trail map. It was like double snow. It's very nostalgic for me, as well as the Jotunn has a really cool rainbow skin. However, the build does rely on cooldown. Frost does have a cooldown to it, and it's generally a little bit harder to scale into the end game versus other cold builds. Let's take a look at some of the skills and passives that make this build work. First is our main damage, Frost. We cast a frozen orb, traveling in target direction, releasing icicles, freezing, and dealing cold damage to enemies in its path. Second is our mobility skill, Portal of Ice. We teleport to a target location and release a Frost Nova dealing cold damage. We also use Blizzard for auxiliary damage. This casts a freezing blizzard dealing AoE cold damage and freezing enemies in a target area. This is also going to inflict a lot of cold break for us. We have two very strong player buffs. One is Frozen Hide. We cast a Frost Enchanted Shield on ourselves, reducing incoming physical damage and freezing and dealing cold damage to enemies that attack us. As well as we have an all-res passive. The Jotunn also gains two big damage passives. The first one is Power of Ancients. We gain additional cold skill damage for every 100 points of mana, and Avatar of Frost. This increases our cold skill damage. If you enjoy my content or find it useful, please consider donating. I am dedicating all donations and stream revenue in December to go towards my mom's fight with cancer. Of course, donating is not required to view my content, and I won't treat anybody differently, so only support if you can do so comfortably. To all of my contributors, thank you guys so freaking much. It's so hard to express how much that really means to me, so thank you. Within the written guide is a section designed to teach a few Hero Siege leveling basics to newer or returning players. If you're in this category, be sure to check that out, as it is really good information to have whenever you're leveling from 1 to 100. Next, let's talk about how to allocate points into our skill tree while we level. Starting at level 1, I prefer to use Flash Freeze. This is a melee skill that has a projectile that'll bounce between enemies. However, if you prefer Frozen Boulder or Breath of Ice, by all means go for those. Be sure that you go into the sub-skill tree for Flash Freeze and click on the additional Icicle at level 5. As well as put some points into energy early. This will really help with the mana cost of Flash Freeze. At level 8, continue putting points into Flash Freeze as well as Permafrost. Permafrost will increase the damage of Flash Freeze without increasing its mana cost, but it is a less damage per point than just speccing into Flash Freeze itself. Do whatever you feel is best here. At level 16, we gain access to Orb of Frost. We are going to go ahead and respec. We'll max Orb of Frost and put the rest of our points in Frozen Boulder. You can put less points in Orb of Frost here to reduce its mana cost at the cost of some damage. At level 24, we'll put 1 point into Power of the Ancients, 1 point into Portal of Ice. This is our teleport skill. At level 30, you'll put 1 point into Blizzard. This is your cold break debuff. The rest will go into Avatar of Frost. At level 60, put 1 point into Frozen Hide. The reason we don't do this any sooner is we don't really have a whole lot of plus skills, so the advantage you're going to get out of this is very minimal. 1 point into Glacial Armor. Again, same reason, don't have a whole lot of skills until around this level. Max Power of the Ancients and put the rest of your points into Blizzard. At level 80, you'll finish maxing Blizzard and put the rest of your points into Icicles. And at level 100, here's what your final tree is going to look like. You'll max Orb of Frost, max Power of the Ancients, max Blizzard, max Icicles, 1 point into Frozen Hide, 1 point into Portal of Ice, 1 point into Glacial Armor, and then put the rest of your points in Frozen Boulder. Sub-skill trees are a new feature in Season 5. Simply click on the plus sign on the top right of the skill you're looking to spec into, and a new window will pop up. You gain 1 point for every 5 character levels for every skill that you have allocated. You can reset this tree anytime for free, as well as you can have 1 augment per skill. Listed below are all these sub-skill trees that I recommend while leveling. The first sub-skill tree is Orb of Frost. This tree focuses on maximum projectiles and cooldown recovery. As you get more CDR, you can opt out of the CDR for other options. There's tons of good nodes that you could use here. Next is Blizzard. This tree focuses on debuffing enemies in a large AoE with a ton of cold break. And last is Portal of Ice. This tree focuses on gaining stacks of Shredding Chill Step. This increases your cold skill damage so that we can buff our Orb of Frost damage while giving some additional teleport range and cast speed. Let's talk about attribute allocation. Skills can be quite expensive to use early, especially as you put more and more points into them. It's increasing the mana cost. You will want to put points into energy until you can find your first flat skill damage item, as well as some sustains so you're not chugging on mana pots. After that, follow a 50-50 split rule between intelligence and vitality. You'll do 2 points intelligence, 2 points vitality for every level. Let's move on to gearing. This section is designed to give you workable suggestions on what gear to acquire at different stages of the game. You as a player need to look at your current gear and figure out what options make the most sense for you. Due to the addition of the sub-skill trees, there are item procs or combinations that will not be listed here as they aren't discovered yet. It's up to you to experiment. Alongside gearing in Season 5 is star levels. Be sure to check out my star levels video explain for more information, but this is really for more advanced players and won't affect your playthrough. So don't worry, none of the gear that I'm using in this guide has star levels on it, as it is not required to complete any content in the game. For most of leveling, you'll be searching for rare or mythic items that match your character's damage type, but you may come across some satanics that also make sense to use. I cannot guarantee you dropping a specific satanic, nor will you stop leveling to farm for a specific satanic, so my gear recommendations will not include them. Rune words, however, are nearly guaranteed, as the bases are very common and you can obtain rune from completing quests in Act 1 Normal, Nightmare, and Hell, then using the Prospect Station in Act 1 to downgrade runes to the ones that you need. This does not include the runes that you'll naturally drop playing the game. Be sure to check the runes level requirement and the white bases level requirement to ensure that you meet the requirement for both. The in-game journal is a bit misleading on the minimum level requirements for starter rune words, so best to check for yourself. Again, we are looking for normal through mythic items generally while you're leveling. Here are some weapon affixes to keep an eye out for. Rune word option to consider is Sky Song. You can use this as early as level 29. You can make it in any tier of base, but be sure to make it in a Spellblade or a one-handed sword. Here are some offhand affixes to look for. Rune words to consider. The first one is Sky Song. You can use this as early as level 29. This is your offensive option. You'll make it in a shield. As well as Divine Contemplation, you can make it as early as level 21. This is your defensive option. Make it in any tier 3 socket shield, and this has a ton of resistances on it. Here are some helmet affixes to look for. And a rune word option to consider is Scholar. You can use this as early as level 27. It does have a skill on it, some mana on kill, as well as some physical damage reduction. Here are some chest affixes to look for. Rune word options to consider. The first one is Shadow. You can use this as early as level 17. It does have 25% movement speed as well as 25% faster cast rate. And Freljord, you can use this as early as level 35. It does have up to 4 skills on it, cold skill damage, minus enemy cold resistance, and a little bit of cooldown. Very good chest. Here's some glove affixes to look for. Boot affixes to look for. Rune words to consider. The first is Quick Steps. This just comes with a ton of movement speed. You can use this as early as level 31. The better option here is Ghost, but you do need a Mal. You're most likely only going to get this from your Act 1 quests in either Normal or Nightmare, but you can use this as early as level 49. I also would not recommend prospecting either a Vex or a Gold rune. Here are some belt affixes to look for. Ring affixes to look for. Amulet affixes to look for. And charm affixes to look for. As a fresh level 100 character, there really isn't best in slot gear at this point. Most items could be swapped with strong mythics. Item decisions are going to revolve around how your character feels over direct power upgrades. For example, if your character has a built-in teleport but low cast rate, choosing items that have higher, faster cast rate than others can make the build feel more smooth to play. You could put any combination of these budget items together and feel capable of completing Hell difficulty and begin pushing difficulties. Do not underestimate how strong mythic items can be, especially with the new star level system. Starting with weapons, we have Sky Song. Try and find a base with intelligence, cold skill damage, or skills. Second is Divinity. Also try and find a base with intelligence, cold damage, or skills. Jotunn is actually special because he can wear 2 maces. Third, we have Book of Cold Death. This gives us up to 4 skills, 30 faster cast rate, up to 50 cold skill damage, and minus 20 cold resistance. We also get plus 8 to Icicles, which is a synergy for Orb of Frost. And lastly, if you find a really good mythic, you could always start level that. For offhand, we have Sky Song. Again, try and find a base. Divinity, same thing, try and find a good base, but you can wear 2 divinities on a Jotunn. Divine Contemplation, if you would like to keep all your resistances. Iron Giant Shield can be decent, it has plus 3 skills. A ton of armor, some vitality, and damage reduction. And of course, if you find a good mythic, you could always start level it. For helmets, if you're still using that Scholar, this is easily replaceable. Crown of the Midnight gives us 3 skills as well as up to 30% magic skill damage. Curator of Secrets is very strong as well with 2 skills, 40 faster cast rate, a bit of magic skill damage, and up to 25 all res. Crown of the North is your best option here. We have up to 4 skills, 25 cold skill damage, 15% physical damage reduction, and up to 30 all res with CBF. And of course, if you find a mythic, you could always start level it. For chests, Freljord is your best option. It's very cheap. Try and make one. If you can't get one, Heaven's Might is a decent option. It has up to plus 4 skills, a ton of physical and magical damage reduction, 100 vitality, and up to 6 sockets. Honestly, this is probably more expensive than a Freljord. I would just try and make that instead. Grand Wizard's Robe, up to 2 skills, 30% faster cast rate if you would like to have more teleporting, some physical damage reduction, and up to 35 all res. Gladstone Goose is your best resistance chest. It has up to 65% all res. Witchbane is another super cheap option. And of course, if you find a mythic, you could always start level that. For gloves, we have Conjured Mitts, Anubis's Mighty Hands, Mevis's Mighty Gauntlets, Wisdom Holds, Sorcerer's Surge Grips, or if you find a mythic, you could start level it. Honestly, all of these options are decent. They will all serve you well. Sorcerer's Surge Grips gives you some CDR. That could be pretty nice. And Wisdom Holds has plus 2 skills with some FCR. That could be very nice. Really, you can get away with any of these early. For boots, we have Wizard Boots. These have 1 skill on them as well as 10 intelligence, which is also magic skill damage. These only have 10% movement speed, but it really doesn't matter because we have a teleport built in. For quick steps, if you want the movement speed, this is the best option to go for on movement speed. Ghost is probably your best option here. You do get 2 skills with some physical and magical damage reduction, as well as you have movement phasing, allowing you to pass through enemies and objects. Or if you find a plus 3 Grand Wizard Silk Shoes, these are very nice as well. And if you find a decent mythic, you might as well start level it. For belts, we have Viper Magi. This gives us up to 20% FCR as well as 15 all res. Knight's Girdle is a decent option. You get up to 2 skills, some vitality, a bit of physical damage reduction. Commander Sash is my preferred choice as you do get plus 1 skills, 3 mana on kill, some physical damage reduction, and up to 20 all res. However, Ice Queen Cestus might be the better option here as you get up to 25 cold skill damage. And of course, if you find a decent mythic belt, you can start level that. For rings, we have Kodo's Wedding Band. This gives us plus 1 skills, a ton of movement speed, and a lot of life. Iron Ring of Prometheus. This will give you a ton of faster cast rate. Being able to teleport around faster is a big advantage of playing the Jotunn. Decent resistance as well as some magic find. If you find a mythic ring with cold skills on it, you could always start level that. Satanic Eye is your best option for all res. Signet of Bifrost can give you up to 35% cold skill damage. Lunar Prophets is also really nice as you get plus 1 cold skills and some cold skill damage. This set also pairs with the boots, and both of those together do give you some additional cooldown reduction. For amulets, honestly, any of these are good options. Spear Pendant's going to be your best CDR option as you get 10% from it with up to 30 all res. But I could see using an All-Seeing Eye for plus 3 with Magic Find being a decent option as well. Here are some charm affixes to look for on Mythic Charms. Satanic Charms aren't really an early game buy. They will be rather expensive, but I wanted to show a couple just to look out for while you're grinding. You can get up to 35% minus enemy cold res, but you do take a 75% cold res penalty. And second is Cold Giant's Charm. This can give you up to 20% cold skill damage and up to minus 10 enemy cold resistance. As far as balancing goes, this part is still underway in the beta. I will be testing all builds live on Twitch and updating this section in the written guide as I do, but I would rather have this section empty than to steer players in the wrong direction. Here's a list of all the relics that work with this build. You're going to have to decide on your best option based on your current gear, stats, and build feel. However, the first 4 are the ones that I recommend, with the utility options being the remaining. Currently in Season 5, Mercenaries generally only have one purpose, being a Magic Find or a bot. Mercenary Magic Find is applied to your on-kill Magic Find, so we will be stacking as much as we can get. Here's the Mercenary skill tree I recommend. And for gear, again, generally we're looking for the most magic find. However, for weapons, there is Aurora's Might, which can give you a huge resistance bonus on your character early. Once you've solved your resistances for your character, any of these options, Sacred Whip, Ceremonial Dagger, or Death's Mirror, are good magic find weapon options. Here's some assorted magic find chests, magic find helmets, and magic find offhands. Below is a list of satanic potions and their effects. I recommend damage options first, then build into some utility, but the choice is really up to you. Here's a detailed starter highlight filter made by me specifically for this build. This ensures that you will highlight exactly what you need all the way to hell. Below that, I do explain how I put this filter together so that you know exactly what is being highlighted if you want to make changes. Remember that highlight filters do not hide any items. You need a filter in order for that to happen. If you're not sure how filters work, be sure to check the written guide. I do have a bit more explanation on how filters work, as well as I do have the beginner's guide that goes really in detail on how filters work. Again, this is just a highlight filter. And that's going to wrap up this starter build guide for the Orb of Frost Jotunn in Season 5. I truly hope this guide helps you in your journey. It was a ton of work, and I can't wait to see how blown away everyone is by Season 5. Be sure to check out more starter builds at the end of the written guide or via link in the description. Hit that subscribe button to let me know you want more Hero Siege content, and come say hi on Twitch at twitch.tv/Graxy_TV for live Graxy fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.